She said it was a mating emergency and appeared in my bed without clothes. Every day followed a steady rhythm. Mornings spent checking the habitats of Earth's first interstellar species collection, afternoons buried in alien biology papers, evenings with a cup of tea and a book about human exploration in the stars. Curran was proud of his work, but he had always thought it was predictable. Until that morning, the sun had barely begun to rise over the sprawling research facility. The corridors were silent, the air crisp with the faint hum of climate control. Curran yawned, stretching as he rubbed the sleep from his eyes. The last thing he expected was a sudden flash of light in his bedroom, followed by a sound like the tearing of silk across metal. Curran froze. There, standing in the center of his bed, was a small figure, glowing faintly in shades of blue and violet. Its body was delicate, almost ethereal, and it seemed to shimmer under the soft sunlight filtering through the blinds. Curran's first thought was that he was dreaming. But the figure blinked, and the moment their eyes, if they could be called eyes, met his, Curran realized this was very real. The figure tilted its head in what could only be described as urgency. It raised thin, translucent limbs, pointing at something above Curran's desk. Holographic symbols flickered into existence, a strange pattern of circles and lines, twisting and rearranging themselves. Curran blinked. He had studied alien languages before, but this was unlike anything he had ever seen. Then somehow a voice, not in the way humans spoke but inside his mind, echoed clearly. Emergency, mating cycle, critical help. Curran stumbled back from the bed, tripping over his slippers. What do you mean?" he whispered aloud, though he knew the alien wouldn't understand words. He watched as the symbols shifted faster, forming shapes that looked almost like human DNA strands, glowing with faint pulses of light. The realization hit him slowly. This was not a visitor seeking casual interaction. This was a being whose very species depended on what humans might consider a life-or-death biological event. He swallowed hard and sat on the edge of the bed. Okay. First, calm down. You need help, right? I can help." The alien responded by projecting a more detailed hologram. It showed a planet bathed in green light, with hundreds of small beings similar to the one in his room. Many lay still, their lights dimmed, while a few shimmered weakly. Above the planet hovered a clock-like symbol counting down. Curran's heart pounded. The meaning was clear. Their species was dying, and the reproduction cycle would fail without urgent intervention. Curran ran to his computer, pulling up his notes on interstellar species reproduction. He had studied dozens of alien cycles, some simple, some horrifically complex, but he had never encountered anything like this. The alien species was unique. They could survive in different environments, adapt to harsh climates, and even communicate telepathically. But their reproduction relied on a combination of biological and environmental factors found only on their home planet, and now they were extinct there. The alien floated closer, its glow intensifying, almost as if it could sense Curran's panic. It projected a map, showing a series of devices scattered across the habitat. Some of these devices were human-made, others clearly alien technology. One device, in particular, pulsed brighter than the others, a containment unit in the xenobiology lab. Curran realized instantly the species could reproduce, but only if they were inside this device under specific conditions. The problem was, it was designed to handle only a small number of specimens, and it would require careful manipulation. One wrong move and the species could fail completely. He took a deep breath. "All right," he said, more to himself than to the alien. "I can do this. I have to do this." The alien seemed to respond, as if acknowledging that he understood the gravity of the situation. It floated to the side of the room and projected another hologram, a simplified version of their reproductive cycle. The symbols were clear now. Light, temperature, vibrations, and energy pulses all had to match precise patterns. Any deviation could be fatal. Curran's mind raced. He was a scientist, yes, but he was only human. Could he really manage an alien reproduction cycle? His hands hovered over the keyboard and he felt sweat forming at his temples. This was no ordinary experiment, this was life itself. He ran through the steps in his mind, then finally said, "Okay, step 1, prepare the containment unit. Step 2, adjust environmental conditions. Step 3, monitor energy pulses." The alien watched him the whole time, its glow calming slightly as if it trusted him to act. By the time he reached the lab, Curran was moving on pure instinct. He bypassed security protocols carefully. The last thing he needed was an alarm waking the rest of the facility. The containment unit hummed quietly, its surface cold to the touch. Curran examined the controls: temperature, energy frequency, and vibrational harmonics. Everything had to be perfect. He set the unit to the alien's specifications. The alien hovered beside him, projecting guidance as glowing diagrams and symbols. Curran adjusted the settings, his hands shaking at first, but growing steadier with each step. He was a human, yes, but he had knowledge, skill, and determination. That, he realized, was more valuable than sheer alien instinct. As he worked, he felt a strange connection forming between himself and the alien. It was not friendship in the way humans knew, but a mutual understanding. The alien trusted him with the survival of its species. And Curran, he felt a fierce pride in being trusted. Humans often underestimated themselves, but in this moment he knew this was why humanity mattered. Hours passed. Curran monitored the energy pulses, adjusting temperatures and vibrations. The alien's glow fluctuated with each change, a silent form of communication. At times he thought he would fail, but every time he corrected his approach, guided by intuition and careful observation. Finally, near the edge of exhaustion, Curran noticed a small change. One of the aliens' projections, the visual representation of their species' reproductive success, began to brighten. More points of light appeared on the hologram. The countdown clock stopped, freezing for the first time. The alien floated closer, pulsing brighter than before, almost like it was smiling. Curran exhaled, letting relief wash over him. He had done it. For the first time in human history, a single human had saved an entire alien species from the brink of extinction. And yet, there was no time to celebrate. The reproduction cycle was just beginning. Curran would have to monitor it carefully, ensure conditions remained perfect, and continue learning from the alien in real time. Failure was still possible, and the species' survival hung by the thinnest thread. But for now, he allowed himself a small moment of pride. He had stepped into the unknown, faced it head-on, and proven that humans could rise to challenges that no other species could manage. That was humanity's strength: courage, ingenuity, and the will to survive, not just for themselves, but for others who could not survive without them. The alien's glow settled into a steady pulse, and Curran realized that trust had been formed. They were partners now, bound by a mission that transcended worlds. He looked at the small, glowing figure on his bed, once mysterious and urgent, now a symbol of hope, and smiled. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we save your species, together." And as the facility's morning lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the lab, Curran felt a deep, unshakable certainty. Humanity had a role to play in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as mere observers, but as protectors, innovators, and guardians. He had no idea how far this journey would take him, but one thing was clear: the galaxy had just begun to see what humans were truly capable of. Dr. Curran Malhotra barely slept that night. His mind was alive with calculations, strategies, and worries. The alien, whose name he had yet to learn, hovered nearby, its soft blue-violet glow pulsating slowly as if sensing his restless thoughts. The reproductive cycle had begun successfully, but Curran knew better than to assume it would continue smoothly. In the galaxy, nothing about survival was ever simple. As dawn broke, Curran entered the lab, ready to monitor the progress. The containment unit hummed with energy, and the aliens' projections flickered across the holographic screens, displaying a steady stream of symbols and data. Everything seemed stable, but Curran was aware of the fragile balance. A single misstep could end the cycle and doom the species. He double-checked the energy frequencies, ensuring the vibrations matched the aliens' unique biological requirements. As he adjusted one of the settings, he noticed a slight deviation in the readings, a tiny fluctuation, almost imperceptible but enough to worry him. "Not good," he muttered, his voice low. The alien hovered closer, projecting new symbols that seemed urgent. Curran leaned over the console, scanning the data. The problem was clear. The environment inside the containment unit was no longer perfectly stable. Even a slight temperature drop could halt the reproductive process. He quickly recalibrated the unit, increasing energy flow to stabilize the temperature. The alien's glow flickered in response, almost as if it were breathing a sigh of relief. Curran realized, once again, that they were communicating in ways that transcended words. Mutual trust had grown between them, a human and an alien, united by a shared goal. But the problem was not limited to the containment unit. Reports from the facility's security systems indicated unusual activity in the corridors. Someone, or something, was trying to access the lab. Curran frowned. Earth authorities had strict protocols regarding alien specimens. Unauthorized contact with extraterrestrial life could be considered a threat, and Curran's secret assistance might soon be discovered. He needed a plan. "If they find out, it could ruin everything," he whispered. The alien floated close, projecting a symbol resembling a shield. Curran understood immediately. They had to protect the unit from interference, human or otherwise. He moved quickly, creating a small, temporary lockdown using his access codes. The facility's automated doors sealed off the lab, and surveillance cameras were rerouted. Curran worked with calm efficiency, feeling a surge of pride in his human ingenuity. No alien could do this. Only humans had the combination of quick thinking, technical skill, and determination to act under pressure. Hours passed. Curran monitored the progress, making small adjustments to ensure stability. The alien projected new holograms, illustrating more advanced stages of the reproductive cycle. Each stage was delicate, requiring precise energy patterns and subtle environmental shifts. Curran followed the instructions meticulously, his hands steady despite the tension. Around midday, an alarm suddenly blared across the facility. Curran jumped, nearly hitting the console. The alien's glow flashed rapidly, signaling panic. Curran's heart sank. Security personnel were approaching. If they saw the alien, everything would collapse. Thinking fast, Curran activated the lab's camouflage protocols, a recently installed system designed to conceal sensitive experiments. The holographic walls shifted, blending the lab into the surrounding corridor. The alien, now almost invisible to the naked eye, floated close to Curran. He whispered, "Stay calm. We can handle this." The guards paused, scanning the corridor for anomalies. Curran's heart raced as they lingered nearby, their radios crackling with instructions. Slowly, the team moved on, unaware of the secret operation unfolding just behind the camouflaged walls. Curran exhaled sharply, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The rest of the afternoon was a tense blur of monitoring, adjusting, and protecting. The alien seemed to sense Curran's fatigue, pulsing softly as if offering encouragement. By evening, Curran allowed himself a small break, stepping away from the containment unit for a moment. He looked at the glowing figure hovering near the console. "You know," he said quietly, "I never imagined humans would be the ones to save an entire species." The alien's glow brightened slightly, acknowledging the thought. Curran smiled faintly. Humanity had always believed itself fragile in the vastness of space, but here he was, proving that human ingenuity, courage, and determination could rival even the most advanced civilizations. But rest was short-lived. Late that night, new complications arose. The reproductive cycle reached a stage that required rapid adjustments. Vibrations and energy pulses had to synchronize perfectly across multiple units. One small error, and the entire process could fail. Curran worked quickly, recalculating energy flows and environmental parameters. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he refused to stop. The alien hovered closer, projecting symbols that seemed almost like guidance, showing how to stabilize the process. Curran followed the instructions precisely, adjusting controls in real time. Hours passed and the tension grew unbearable. Yet slowly, gradually, the process stabilized. Just as relief began to settle over him, a new problem appeared. The alien projected a series of images showing their home planet, once lush and vibrant, now barren and desolate. The species' survival depended not only on this cycle, but also on adapting to entirely new conditions. The offspring would need protection, food, and care in an environment completely different from their home world. Curran realized the scope of the challenge. Saving the species required more than just ensuring reproduction. It required planning for survival in a completely alien environment. He leaned back, exhausted, and muttered, "This is bigger than I imagined." The alien responded with a glowing pulse, projecting new symbols that illustrated a possible solution. Curran studied them carefully. Using human technology combined with alien biology, he could design an ecosystem inside the facility to support the species' growth. It would require careful engineering, but it was possible. Over the next few days, Curran worked tirelessly. He converted sections of the habitat into safe zones, adjusted energy fields, and designed environmental simulations to mimic the alien species' home conditions. The alien guided him throughout, projecting data and suggesting subtle adjustments. During this process, Curran also began to learn more about the aliens' behavior. Though they were not human, they exhibited traits that were familiar: curiosity, caution, and a desire to survive. Curran realized that despite their differences, humans and aliens shared certain qualities: resilience, intelligence, and the ability to adapt under pressure. By the fifth day, the reproductive cycle reached its most critical stage. Curran monitored the containment units obsessively, adjusting conditions in real time. The alien hovered close, projecting symbols that seemed to encourage him. The process was delicate. One misstep could doom the species. As the night approached, Curran noticed the first signs of success. Small glowing orbs began to appear inside the units, the offspring of the alien species. He felt a surge of relief, but he did not allow himself to relax. The cycle was not yet complete, and the newborns were still vulnerable. The aliens' glow brightened as Curran carefully adjusted energy patterns and environmental controls. They worked together seamlessly, human ingenuity complementing alien guidance. Slowly the newborns stabilized, their lights steady and bright. Curran exhaled, feeling a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had ever experienced. Yet even as he celebrated, he knew the challenge was far from over. The species' survival depended on more than just this one cycle. They would need continued care, adaptation, and protection in an environment far from their home world. Curran realized that humanity's role in the galaxy was not just exploration, it was guardianship, stewardship, and courage. He looked at the alien hovering beside him, its glow pulsing softly. "We did it for now," he whispered, "but there's more work ahead." The alien responded with a bright pulse, a silent acknowledgement of the shared mission. Curran smiled faintly. Humanity had been tested and they had risen to the challenge. In the vastness of space, they were small, but they were capable of great things. And as the first offspring of the alien species floated gently in the containment units, Curran knew one thing with absolute certainty. Human ingenuity, courage, and determination could achieve what no other species could. The night passed quietly, the facility still unaware of the monumental achievement occurring within its walls. Curran monitored the process, ensuring stability and preparing for the next stage, helping the newborns adapt to the simulated environment. He knew challenges awaited, but for the first time he felt a deep sense of purpose. The alien species was no longer doomed. Humanity had intervened, bridging the gap between worlds. Curran understood that this was only the beginning. There would be obstacles, failures, and unexpected dangers ahead, but he also knew that humans were capable of rising to every challenge. And as he finally leaned back, exhausted but resolute, Curran thought, tomorrow they would face the next stage together. Humans and aliens, united by survival, ingenuity, and hope. The galaxy had begun to see what humanity was truly capable of. The first light of dawn crept across the facility, casting long shadows over the lab. Dr. Curran Malhotra had hardly slept, but for the first time since the alien appeared in his quarters, he felt a glimmer of hope. The alien offspring, tiny orbs of pulsing light, had stabilized overnight. Their survival no longer depended on chance, but Curran knew the next stage would test every ounce of human ingenuity and perseverance. The species' reproductive cycle was only the beginning. These newborns were far from capable of surviving on their own. The challenge now was ensuring that they could adapt to Earth's artificial environment while remaining true to their unique biology. Curran moved to the control panel, reviewing the environmental simulations he had designed. Humidity, energy fields, temperature, vibration patterns, all had to be perfectly synchronized. "Let's get you ready for the world," he murmured to the alien hovering nearby. Its glow pulsed softly, almost in encouragement. Curran felt an unusual bond forming, not friendship exactly, but mutual respect and trust. He realized this was what humanity often lacked in stories told by other species, the ability to rise to challenges without expectation of reward. The first task was building a safe habitat for the young. Curran worked quickly, rearranging containment units into a sprawling ecosystem simulation. Using advanced climate control, holographic projections, and energy fields, he created a miniature environment resembling the alien species' home planet. Plants, rocks, and water sources were simulated digitally and physically, and the alien offspring could interact with both. Hours passed in tense concentration. Curran adjusted energy flows to mimic the alien sun cycles, shifted vibration patterns to simulate natural communication signals, and synchronized temperature and humidity to perfection. The alien guided him every step of the way, projecting complex schematics that Curran translated into practical adjustments. By midday, the habitat was ready. Curran gently transferred the newborns into their new environment. They hovered in the air, glowing softly as if sensing the change. He watched carefully, monitoring energy readings and environmental stability. For a tense few minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, the offspring began moving, exploring, and interacting with the simulated plants and energy fields. Their glow brightened, a sign of health and vitality. Curran felt a surge of pride. Humanity had done this. A single human had adapted alien technology, understood alien biology, and ensured the survival of an entire species. The alien beside him pulsed brightly, projecting a series of symbols that Curran interpreted as gratitude. But the work was far from over. While the immediate survival of the offspring was secured, Curran knew they would need guidance and protection for the long term. These beings were highly intelligent and capable of learning, but they were still fragile. The challenge was not just to keep them alive, but to teach them slowly how to thrive in a completely new world. Over the next several days, Curran worked tirelessly. He observed their behavior, adjusted environmental simulations, and developed a system of interaction that allowed the offspring to learn from both him and the alien. Using holographic teaching modules, he introduced concepts of energy manipulation, communication, and navigation. The alien projected these lessons in a visual language, while Curran translated them into methods understandable to human logic. During this process, Curran realized something extraordinary. Humanity's strength was not merely in tools or technology, it was in creativity, empathy, and perseverance. While the alien species relied on instinct and pre-programmed cycles, humans could improvise, adapt, and innovate. And in this collaboration, both species were learning from each other. However, the facility still posed challenges. Authorities had begun questioning the unusual energy readings, and security protocols threatened to interrupt Curran's work. If anyone discovered the alien offspring, the entire operation could be jeopardized. Curran knew he needed a solution that would satisfy Earth regulations without endangering the newborns. Using his knowledge of human systems and quick thinking, Curran devised a plan. He would simulate the offspring as part of a controlled experiment labeled under Advanced Environmental Adaptation, a project already approved for research purposes. By disguising the alien offspring as experimental holographic simulations initially, he could continue his work without interference. The plan worked perfectly. Facility administrators approved the experiment, noting unusual but safe energy readings. Curran smiled to himself. Once again, human ingenuity had turned a potential disaster into a solution. He glanced at the alien beside him, which pulsed brightly, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. Weeks passed. The alien offspring thrived in the simulated environment. Their movements became more confident, their communication signals more complex, and their interactions with Curran and the adult alien more sophisticated. Curran documented every step, creating a bridge of knowledge between human and alien biology. During this time, Curran learned more about the alien species. They were communal by nature, relying on energy-based communication and shared intelligence. Their survival depended on cooperation, innovation, and adaptation, all qualities that humans exhibited naturally, even without realizing it. Curran understood that humans and this species were kindred spirits in the vast universe, small, adaptable, and capable of remarkable feats when faced with existential threats. One day, as Curran observed the offspring, a new pattern emerged. They began emitting coordinated energy pulses, communicating not only with each other but also with the environment. The plants, holographic projections, and energy fields responded to their signals, creating a delicate balance. Curran realized they were not just surviving, they were thriving, and they were beginning to shape their surroundings. The alien beside him pulsed with intense light, projecting a series of symbols that Curran interpreted as approval. The species' future was no longer uncertain. Humanity had played a critical role in their survival, but now the offspring were learning to adapt, innovate, and control their environment themselves. Curran felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Humans were often underestimated in the galaxy, seen as fragile, unpredictable, or limited. But here, in the quiet hum of the research facility, he had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and persistence could achieve what no other species might attempt. As days turned into weeks, the bond between humans and the alien species strengthened. The facility's administrators eventually became aware of the project's success, and rather than interference, they offered support. They marveled at the collaborative methods Curran had developed, noting that humanity had not only preserved an alien species, but had done so in a way that respected their biology and culture. The alien, hovering beside Curran, pulsed brighter than ever, projecting symbols that Curran interpreted as gratitude and recognition. In a gesture humans might call respect, it acknowledged that the human mind had matched its own species, intelligence in problem-solving and compassion. Curran smiled faintly. Humanity had risen to the challenge, and the galaxy had witnessed it, even if indirectly. In that small lab, with tiny glowing offspring floating around him, he understood something fundamental. Humans were not weak. They were resilient, inventive, and capable of extraordinary feats when faced with impossible odds. Months later, the offspring were ready for the next stage: integration into a controlled expansion habitat, where they could explore and interact with the larger environment safely. Curran prepared for the transition, ensuring that energy flows, environmental factors, and learning modules were all optimized. The alien hovered close, a silent mentor and guide, while Curran moved with precision and confidence. As the offspring entered the expansion habitat, they adapted quickly. They learned to navigate energy currents, interact with simulated flora and fauna, and communicate among themselves. Curran watched, a deep sense of satisfaction settling over him. Humanity had done more than survive, it had helped another species thrive. Finally, Curran looked at the alien beside him. Its glow pulsed steadily, no longer urgent or anxious. It projected symbols that translated roughly to, "You have saved us. You have proven your species' worth. Together, we will grow." Curran nodded, feeling a swell of pride. He had begun as a single human facing an impossible problem, and now he stood as part of a partnership that bridged worlds. Humans were small in the galaxy, but they had proven themselves capable of incredible acts of intelligence, courage, and compassion that could change the course of entire species. And as the stars glittered beyond the facility's observation windows, Curran realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity had demonstrated that they were not merely observers in the universe. They were creators, protectors, and innovators. They had the power to save, to nurture, and to inspire. For the alien species, humanity had become a beacon of hope. And for Curran, the journey had shown a simple truth: when humans face impossible odds, they rise, they adapt, they persevere, and they triumph. As the sun set over the research facility, Curran watched the offspring exploring their habitat, glowing brightly, communicating in intricate patterns, and thriving in ways he could never have imagined. He knew that the galaxy would come to recognize humanity's strength, not through conquest, not through fear, but through ingenuity, compassion, and the relentless will to survive. Humanity had done it. They had saved a species. They had proven their worth. And in doing so, they had reminded the universe what humans were capable of. The alien pulsed one last time, a gesture of partnership and respect, before drifting gently toward the window, gazing out at the stars. Curran followed with his eyes, a quiet smile on his face. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but humans had shown, in that small lab, that they could face any obstacle, alone or together, and emerge victorious. And with that thought, Curran Malhotra allowed himself to rest, knowing that humans had not only survived, they had triumphed.